Już teraz 20.
Welcome to WebRTC Live. In WebRTC Live, we cover the latest technical topics and business use cases for WebRTC and live video. As always, this episode is brought to you by WebRTC.Ventures, leading integrators of WebRTC video into your custom application.
Welcome to a special episode of WebRTC Live. I'm Arin Sime, CEO and founder of WebRTC.Ventures. And coming to you live today in studio at Software Mansion in Krakow, Poland from the RTC.ON conference. So second year for me attending this conference and doing WebRTC Live from here. And if you have a chance, definitely come check out this conference in person, filled with excellent speakers. Krakow is a really interesting city. But if you're not able to be here, make sure that you do check out their recordings of all of the talks, because we're almost halfway through the conference now, and every talk has been fantastic, and I know there's going to be a lot more. So if you work in the WebRTC space, in streaming media, video, audio engineer of any time, make sure that you check out the RTC.ON conference. And what we're going to do in this special episode of WebRTC Live is I'm going to just have a short conversation with a few different speakers from today. Just give you a little bit of a taste of what they're talking about at the conference, and then you'll be able to go and check out their full talks online afterwards as well. So I'm going to start with Will Law. Thanks for joining me today, Will.
Hey, Arin. Thanks for having me.
So Will is a chief architect at Akamai and also chairs a working group on the Web Transport API. And you spoke this morning about your title of the talk, a quick update on Mock and Web Transport. So let's start with what is the timeline for standardization of Mock and Web Transport?
So they're separate groups. I work on the W3C side of Web Transport. So this is the API that enables you to access the Web Transport protocol. That's defined by the IETF. So there's two different timelines there. The majority of the work done in the IETF is done for Web Transport, and I expect it very soon to go to recommendation status. So I put that time box as hopefully the first half of 2026.
Okay.
And at the same time, we want to land the plane on the JavaScript API side, right? We don't want to land it before the actual transport specs specified. So we're trying to coordinate the landing. But I would definitely say, as in the spec world, a year is a decent window, right? Because stuff comes up. But let's say target is the first half of between now and first half of next year.
Okay, great.
On both sides of Web Transport. Mock spec may be similar timeline. That's another group in IETF, the MOQ working group. And the chairs just put out some feelers for when we think we might be able to get the spec towards final resolution. And it's always a point at which you have to put a line in the sand, because there's always new ideas, and there's the temptation to just keep extending it forever. Yeah, WebRTC famously 8 years, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, 8, 10 years.
So we don't want that. We want to put a line in the sand, get it out the door, get some implementation experience, and then perhaps go back and revise it in the future. But I would put a similar goal, 2026. Exactly when? Can't say. Certainly not ready now. We've got 136 open issues. There's a lot of debate going on. There's new features coming in. But all in all, it's improvement. And the oscillations between wireline format and the bits and the structure and the objects, the changes are getting smaller. So they'll go down to a point eventually we can say, okay, let's go with this. And new features will defer to a future version.
Fantastic. So for those not familiar, Mock is MOQ, stands for Media Over Quick. But one thing you talked about today is you'd prefer we don't use it as an acronym anymore. I stopped saying Media Over Quick. We just call it Mock, since it's not just about media.
Yeah, so. I mean, in a media audience, Media Over Quick is fine. Many people know it as that. And I think if you're coming from an WebRTC world, it's a very interesting adjacent technology. And I'm not here by any means to say drop WebRTC and move to Mock. I'm saying Mock brings you a lot of tools and features that you will find very interesting. And if you come from a WebRTC background, you will appreciate them far faster than some people who have no idea what I'm talking about there. So yeah, it's media over quick limits it to media, but it doesn't have to be media. It's payload agnostic. So it's moving arbitrary binary payloads in a pub-sub network very efficiently and smoothly. And video is an excellent candidate for payload, but it can be database updates. It can be GPS coordinates of race cars around a track. It can be security system updates. There's a lot of linear timeline information that I want to move between different nodes. And I think that's the market application of Mock extends beyond audio and video.
Yeah, interesting. So it's similar to what we're used to saying in the WebRTC space then about WebRTC being about video, audio, but also the often neglected data channels, and you could use it for a lot more.
And a lot of stuff moves over data channel that is not audio and video.
Yeah.
And in fact, audio and video moves over data channel even when there's explicit channels for them. So it's a very useful construct. And in Mock, you sort of see similar architecture.
Now, there's a lot of interesting aspects about Mock. One of them that particularly interesting for video and audio is the ability to have tunable latency. So can you kind of briefly explain that?
By tunable, we mean that Mock, you're not bound to a latency first delivery solution. So WebRTC is very good at keeping low latency, and it will lower quality under congestion in order to do that. And that's great if that's what you want to do. But sometimes you might want to make the decision to be higher up the latency tree. In other words, consume video a second after it's produced, because I want a higher quality in my original encoding. Or as a client, I'm willing to wait for objects to be retransmitted on their delivery to me. So Mock gives you the ability to choose where you want to consume the media. It can be at the very live playhead, or it can be anywhere after it. And on the same stream, I might have subscribers who are listening to a real-time conversation, and they can tell the relay, don't send me anything that's more than 200 milliseconds late, because I don't want that. I just want real-time, right? But someone else can say, I'm willing to tolerate 1,000 milliseconds of retransmission, because I want to receive the complete data. And an archival system will say, I'll wait 10 seconds, no problem, retransmit all you like. Because I'm on a bad network or I'm the other side of the world. So all three can have three different playback experiences from the same bit stream that's coming out of the original publisher. And that I think is interesting.
So three different viewers can have a different experience based on that, based on their individual
all can set different prioritization between what they're requesting. So the relay is handling every single last mile delivery independently of the others, and accommodating priority and latency requests that are particular for that end user.
No, that's really interesting, because in WebRTC, when we've thought about trying to do, like, say, a very interactive conference stream to a large number of viewers, but also still be able to take questions from the audience. In the past you kind of talk about, well, maybe we have to segment the audience and have some people connected via WebRTC for real-time interaction, for asking questions remotely, as well as that larger streamed audience. And basically with a Mock-based architecture, you don't need to segment that way.
Yeah. And the other factor that's a differentiator between WebRTC and Mock is you can cache Mock. As it's moving through this distribution network, you can optionally cache it at every node. And this is useful for going back in time. So we have a demo of a web conference where we're talking, and normally if you go back, you've got to switch formats. You go to something that converts it to HLS or Dash, and then you have a different player. Maybe it's the same player on the outside, but underneath it's switching formats completely, and it's playing these clips. But with Mock, you can go back, simply subscribe to content from the past, watch that, and then reactivate your subscription to be subscribing from the front edge again, or however close you want to consume it. And that's a very nice feature. As we get into live sports and all of the non-real-time use cases, it's very useful to be able to go back.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, so, working with WebRTC, I would say, and I'd be curious if you agree, it's still very useful for a lot of the more simpler sort of web conferencing applications and small calls. maybe a little simpler to work with, but much more flexibility for a wider range of use cases.
WebRTC is a fantastically robust ecosystem. It doesn't feel like it when you're working in the innards of it, right? But the reality is, I go to any browser, we take for granted that I can just chat with my parents on the other side of the world.
Right.
And they're not technically advanced, so the system is robust enough and simple enough that we can have video conferences with anyone, anywhere. And I think that's full credit to WebRTC. So it's for the, as we start to push the boundaries and we want to decouple the transport from the codecs from the signaling, right? And tease those apart and optimize them in different ways. That's where Mach allows you to do that, and that's where it starts getting interesting.
So then the big question is, what are the limitations of using it now? So we're talking about the first half of next year, but...
Yeah, the spec is not complete, so if you implement it today, the spec might be different next month. This is acknowledged, right? We deal with it. We have draft releases. It's draft 14 as of the start of this month. It'll be draft 15 soon. So if you have a private network where you control the original publisher, all the relays, and the client, you can pick whatever draft you want. It's essentially your private protocol. But if you want interop, a global interop with other vendors across the ecosystem, we really need to get to a final version. So everyone working on it now, most people acknowledge that. So that's WebRTC, you can go use it, it's great. Mach is going to still take more time, hopefully next year. The other issue is it's based on QUIC. There's still some networks in the world that blindly block QUIC because in the past, any UDP-based traffic has been attack traffic or malicious, and it's not TCP, and they're just, these networks are stuck in that world. So as you start seeing more and more HTTP3 traffic, which leverages QUIC, and those networks are blocking it, they'll be pushed back, and they will unblock it. So Web Transport today has an H2 failover mode. If it can't establish QUIC, it'll use H2. You get curiously reliable datagrams as a result. It is a fall down, but that's another factor that you need to bake into if I want to deploy anything with Web Transport or raw QUIC today's network support.
And we'll continue to follow the progress of Mach. There's a lot of interesting work going on there, but unfortunately we need to get to other speakers here, but definitely check out Will's full talk for more. Very quickly, anywhere that you would point users, viewers of this to learn more?
Yeah, so the IATF Mach Working Group, very open. People can go there, sign up. You can look at all the issues that are happening. You can look at the PRs that are being submitted. You can add your own information there. Check that out. We have a software consortium we just started last week to create open source software for Mach at a very sort of high performance level for commercial deployment. It's called OpenMach, so go to openmach.org for info about that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Will. Thank you for joining us. Hang on for, we'll be back in just a moment with our next speaker here in the Experts Lounge from the RTC.ON conference. welcome back to the Experts Lounge at the RTC.ON conference. I'm here now with Cesare Suek, staff engineer at Stream. You're speaking at the conference about challenges in real-time live streaming at 4K and 60 FPS. So let's start with maybe kind of what kind of use case were you working on, or where people want to use a 4K high resolution live stream. Let's start a little bit there.
We see more and more people coming to us and asking for high quality streams. And they always mention they definitely want 4K and 60 FPS is ideal, it seems. And the use cases are very different. It's a live music. It's conferences, events. It's paid content, different type of paid content that people need to pay to provide. There are people that running auctions through the live conferences, and they want to provide best video quality possible.
Fantastic. So a lot of use cases beyond the standard sort of meeting tool where maybe it doesn't matter exactly what resolution we're seeing each other in, but like auction's an interesting one I hadn't thought of, to really be able to see the details on that product, see a better image of it, can be really important. So I know you cover a number of different challenges around live streaming and high quality at that in your presentation. Which would you say was the hardest challenge to overcome, and why?
There are lots of challenges in terms of 4K. First of all, many of devices, especially the devices that you want to watch on it, are not ready for the 4K. But this is something that we have to deal with it. We need to provide them additional way to watch it. But I think this is the most common issue, that people they want to watch 4K but they are not able to. Bandwidth is another issue. It has to be solved. To provide good quality video, you need a lot of bandwidth. From the production side, there are issues from the production side to generate video at high quality and stream it to us so we can redistribute it. It's quite complex. Also scale. So if we're talking about live streaming and you want the stream to be watchable by thousands of customers without any interruption, that's another challenge.
So I imagine you're still working with like a very like SFU based architecture so that you can serve multiple levels of quality to different users based on the device that they're on.
That's correct. Yes, because we operate on WebRTC. We have SFU as our backend for providing conferences. But why not to use it for the live streaming purposes? It perfectly does what it should do, and we just tweaked it to make it working well with the live conferencing scenarios.
Fantastic. So for those kind of wrapping up here, we've got a lot of great speakers coming up in the conference, and we'll need to get back out there ourselves too. So for someone who is new to streaming media in real time, what sort of advice would you share with them? And should they be maybe if they're doing it for the first time, or if they're considering, do I need 4K 60 FPS?
They should really think if they really need 4K. I think it's still early. We've been with 1080p for many years, and it worked well. 4K, you probably remember when the 4K TV started appearing, and it was a novelty. Everyone tried to use it, but it turned out most of the content isn't 4K anyway.
Right, so it didn't matter.
So we still need to think whether the 4K is required.
Right.
If it is, you, the content producer needs to be ready for it. Need to have good equipment, good internet connectivity. You need to think about the audience, what the audience is, what they're gonna watch it, where is the audience, if it's spread across the world or it's in one country. Yeah, many things to consider.
Fantastic. All right. For those watching us, and if they want to learn more about your work or about Stream, where should they go?
Just go to getstream.io. I think it's there's lots of content to learn. We have articles about the live streaming. We have lots of tutorials, how to get started, how to use our APIs, how to use our SDKs, how to embed it in our customers' own applications. And, yeah.
Fantastic. So getstream.io. Thank you so much,
Thank
Cesar,
you.
for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you
and
very much.
looking forward to your talk.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome back to the Experts Lounge here at the RTC.ON conference in Krakow, Poland at the offices of Software Mansion. And we have time for one more short interview with one of our speakers here at the conference. And before we get back to the sessions themselves. So I'm here with Christoph Gutenden. And Christoph spoke today about designing a media container library for the web. He's a developer at Media Coatings and also an invited expert for the audio working group at the W3C. So thanks for joining me, Christoph.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate it. So let's start, for those not familiar with it, can you give us a quick description of the Web Codecs API and why a real-time developer might be interested in using that?
Well, it's access to the low-level encoding and decoding capabilities in the browser that always have been there, but somewhere buried in the video element or in the WebRTC stack, and now you can get access to it and pipe raw samples or raw pixels from the canvas into it and get encoded data or the other way around, like, yeah, a bit like FFmpeg in the browser.
Right. And what is, so we could say, if we were kind of thinking about, like WebRTC abstracts out a lot of these things for developers, which is nice. And having things like the Web Codecs API lets us get a little lower level when we need to, which is also good, right? What's the state of adoption of the Web Codecs API?
Well, let me think. I think quite recently Safari unflagged the support, so it should be in every browser right now, if I'm not mistaken. But
so if it's, we were at least very close to it being in Safari. If not,
yeah.
So yeah, that's usually the question: is it in Safari yet?
It also depends a bit on, like, the Web Codecs API only defines the shell around it, and then the separate thing is the codec support.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think that's not near the amount of codecs that the spec provides. Like Vorbis, for example, is only in Firefox, but it's broken, and the other browsers don't even have it. And PCM is, I think, only in Firefox, but I might be wrong. But the individual codec support is a different story. Like the API is there, but it might not work for your use case.
For every codec, yeah, that makes sense. So Yeah, so the web codecs API is provides basically an API around those codecs, and that's helpful. But then web codecs API itself, you're working with things in a media container outside of that, right? So what's the advantage of the media container? Why do people generally like to work with that? Maybe and I know it's also kind of it's a little confusing, and you talked in your presentation, it's a little blurry, the lines between what's a container and what's a codec. So I don't know how deep you want to go into that.
Well, I think containers are definitely necessary if you do want to do anything with the file outside of the browser or outside of the closed environment that you're working with. Like if you want to give your users the option to save a video to disk and you just save the H.264 data, then they cannot do anything with it. But if you package it in an MP4, then they can probably load it in QuickTime and watch it. But yeah, that's probably the necessity. And the other way around, most of the media that we already have is packaged in some form of container. So if you want to access it, then you have to deal with it somehow.
Right. Yeah. So there's layers upon layers in here. What are some of the like current options for wrapping the web codecs API? And you had kind of a wish list of things you wanted to see change. You talked about a project you found that's doing at least some of those. Give us a little taste of that.
Yeah, in the very beginning, there was like the natural thing to do, just to compile FFmpeg and in the browser. That was even before web codecs was a thing. Then you could just compile the full FFmpeg thing and then use it as a black box as you would do it on disk normally, like when you work with it outside of the browser. But now the APIs are getting better and better, and we can kind of remove parts from that black box to make it smaller and smaller to get more access to the lower level things. And when web codecs came along, you could reduce the FFmpeg build to just handle the parsing of the media containers and do the actual processing with web codecs. And that has been done as well, but still I think that it's not flexible enough for the use cases that I had in mind, at least. And that's why I thought it should be much better to provide a dedicated, or to build a dedicated API library for it, which does all that in JavaScript and nicely works with today's bundler and front-end frameworks and all that. That was kind of my wish list.
Fantastic. Well, finally, for anyone watching this who wants to learn more about your work individually or with media coatings or the web codecs API, where would you send them? Where can they learn more?
Oh, it depends. Like I'm not responsible for the web codecs API by any means, so that's
right.
If you have issues with it, then that's not my problem. But it's a GitHub issue tracker on the W3C, where you can file issues and make comments. And information about myself, like I have my homepage called mediacoatings.com, and that's it. Like I publish articles. Not very often, but sometimes I do, and that's where you can find also my email address if you want to send me a message.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, Christoph, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. And for all of you who joined us here in the Expert Lounge at the RTC.ON conference, thank you for joining us here. And we're going to get back in just a moment to the live stream of the RTC.ON conference itself. And if you're watching this through WebRTC Live, then make sure you check out the YouTube channel for Software Mansion and the RTC.ON conference to see all the talks from this excellent conference. And we'll be back in October for WebRTC Live on the 22nd with our next episode of WebRTC Live put on by WebRTC.Ventures. And so you can learn more about us at WebRTC.Ventures and the RTC conference at RTC.ON.live. So thanks again for joining us. And thank you, Christoph.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for WebRTC Live. Visit our website at WebRTC.Ventures to learn more about our custom design and development services and to learn more about upcoming episodes of WebRTC Live.